Hello, my name is Clifford Kettemborough, and I'm going to talk to you about project management. I'll give you a high level overview of project management. Few words about me first. I've been in IT industry for over 30 years, last 20 years in senior management, including at the director level. I perform project and program management, running PMOs for the last 15, 20 years. Besides that, I have extensive background in education and training. I've taught over 900 courses, various universities in Southern California, including extensively overseas. Um, People know me in academic areas, Dr. Cliff, and that's about all. Let me dive in and talk a little bit about project management. Let's start with the definition. There are many definitions out there. One of them, this is pretty much mine, is that project management is a series of tasks and activities that have a start and an end, comprises a number of resources, people, material, money, and obviously time, since it has a start and an end, and also has a person who is coordinating everything, a so-called project manager. And he's responsible for not only coordination, but achieving a number of factors and parameters, as I'll describe a little bit later. Let's analyze a little bit project management, dissect the two words there. One is project, and then the other one is management. So, what is a project? Project basically everything and anything, starting since the caveman, the expedition to go out of the cave and hunt that big animal to feed the entire cave. That was a project and involve a beginning, an end, the resources, people. They have specific tasks to do. And obviously, there's a cost, eat or don't eat. Not saying this is a dangerous job. Some people, some of them, they got injured or maybe killed. They had also a project manager, the leader of that group of people, usually the strongest, the biggest, the most experienced person in the cave. Not necessarily the smartest, but sometimes probably even the smartest. So project management has been with us for a long time. I have here a long list I can talk about. Type of projects, mega constructions during the human history for the past 10,000 years or so. And also, I can add to that military expeditions. They're also projects. They involve all the components of what makes a project. Anywhere starting with pyramids and building the Great Wall of China, all the way to putting the man on the moon, and many, many other projects. They're example of projects and project management. And as I said, if you look to every single one of them, they have the same components. I'm going to describe to you a little bit in the next few minutes. Also, as I mentioned to you, there are a number of military expeditions that, again, they have the same components, the same characteristics of a project. Starting with Alexander the Great, and then ending with historic battles, World War II, and many others in between. Involves people, involve start and an end, involves resources, and the leader of that or the commander of that expedition or conquest or defending the nation was the project manager to some extent. You'll see in that person, if you analyze it, all the characteristics I'm going to describe a little bit later. Now, the other word here is management. Management has been with us also for a long time, even though we didn't call it management. Um, it's only in the past 150 years, maybe 200 years since the Industrial Revolution, when the formality of what management it's all about has been developed and pretty much stable at this point. I would say by 1950s, the concept of the main ingredients, what management is all about, have been coined and explained and settled. But still, starting then, management is more and more replaced the concept by leadership. So if you look at the classical definition of management, which is performing 5 functions: planning, organizing, staffing, monitoring, and control. That's what pretty much a manager does. If you are a manager or you are not and you observe one of your bosses, that's what they do every day. They make decisions, that's their role and job. But in order to make decisions, they need to plan for anything they do, a task or a project. They need to organize it properly, assign people to that. That's very important. Right people for the right task. And then monitors and control the development of tasks and associated activities. Obviously, it has a control option there. Not just watching what's going on, the monitoring and the way to monitor, to collect the data, to make measurements, but also to be able to intervene and apply necessary corrections. Now, lately, if you study a little bit more about management, and I do teach quite a bit strategic management, classical management, and modern management, you notice that there's another capability or another trait added to management, and that's leadership. And that's very important, particularly in the project management, as we'll see very soon. But let me say a few words about leadership. Peter Drucker, he was pretty much considered the father of modern management, but also the father of modern leadership as a discipline. And Peter Drucker was very adamant about making a clear differentiation between management and leadership. They say they have things in common, but rather they are different. Management is preoccupied with the 5 functions I mentioned to you, as opposed to leadership. It's about everything else. It's about applying special skills like facilitation, negotiations, creating a vision, having great people skills, and so on and so forth. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. So it's important to understand the parameters and the definition of a project management is. Another common here observation, you hear also the term program management. A program management is somebody who manages a set of projects, 2 or many. So that becomes a program. And without the program management, actually fairly similar to project management, but not the same, involves different issues and such as setting priorities, allocating resources. Since you have on the table, let's say, several projects, how you allocate priority and resources, particularly when they compete against each other. And with that is linked the concept of PMO. I started PMOs, I ran PMOs, I've been part of PMOs for many years. Actually, a few years ago, I wrote a paper about an integrated modern PMO and presented that paper to one of the PMI chapters in Alhambra. And again, a PMO is more like an office that offers governance of all these projects, standards, and in particular, informing executive management through dashboards and all other techniques. So let me go back to project management. I give you a few words about historic example. I would love to talk about every single one. I have here a list of probably 3-4 dozen of such mega projects or military campaigns. And if you look into them very closely, you see exactly the project management we talk about today, no matter if it was 2,000, 5,000 years ago, or just last year. And also you'll see similar things in the skills and the trades, and the knowledge, the experience of a project manager. But that will take probably another hour or so, and I don't to spend the time on that. Maybe some of you are not interested. But anyway, a few words about project management education. Now, how the projects manager manage projects for thousands of years? Well, experience. Some of them they have skills given by nature or environment to do that. But there's no point is there's no formal education or training. They didn't have to go to college to become or university to become a project manager. So there are people talented to do this, people who learn to be a project management, and again, experience. Experience makes the whole difference in the world. Now, today, your colleges, university offer education in project management. Myself, I have a master's certificate from George Washington University in project management, besides all the other qualification I have. Your corporate training companies, organization that offer project management education and training. Myself, I ran probably a dozen of those for the past several years, going to various companies and train their people in project management or to take the exam for the PMP. Also, there is self-study. Nobody has the ideal solution to become a project manager. Buy the book, read it, and practice, and that's good enough for some people. Now, what you need to keep in mind, and that's the end of this little conversation about project management education, it's all about experience. It's all about practice, practice, practice. In particular, if you have relevant meaningful experiences or specific industry experiences as some employer look for. Now, few words about certification because this is another big thing going on these days. Certification, it's another area probably can talk forever. I remember 20, maybe more years ago when if you have a Microsoft certification, having a college degree really didn't matter. Anyone will hire you. And not only Microsoft, after that, Cisco and Oracle, you name them, are important factors for your personal development of your career. Besides all my degrees, I have several master's and doctoral degrees. I always pursue all kind of professional certification, and I have probably a dozen, including all the modern today. But it's not I would say, a defining factor. Let's see, if I have a choice, I'm a manager, and I have somebody who is out of college, got certified, and now wants to become a project manager. I'll think twice about that. I would rather look to somebody who may not have that certification, but has the required experience. He or she ran project after project in different complexity, different environments for a long time. So that's where the real skill is. Now, everybody's familiar with PMI, probably one of the most prestigious. The problem with PMI, and that's my only personal opinion, they try to have a monopoly on this certification. Nobody else counts, which is a problem. Particularly in a free market, free society, nobody has any monopoly on anything. For example, in Europe, UK, you have Prince as a similar certification for project management. Even in this country, you have some of them. I've been a member for 20, 25 years and also certified by National Management Association, American Management Association, or some others institution that offers certification: American Academy of Project Management, International Project Management Association, American Certification Institute, and many others. You Google them, you research them. Also, universities offer a master program as far as education, also training in project management. And if you want to pursue a certification, obviously, that's a good foundation. Now, few words about project management, and in particular what is called Project Management Life Cycle, PMLC. Now, again, I'm referring to PMBOK from PMI, but it's not the only resource to look at to understand project management life cycle. Probably most people are familiar with that. That's the reason I'm using that. According to that, you have 5 phases of the project management: initiation, planning, construction, monitor and control, and then closing. And the project management book of knowledge gets in great. It's a very thick book like this, where it gets in great details. They talk about each of these phases, talk about the 9 plans you need to put together: integration, scope, time, cost, risk, quality, procurement, human resources, personnel, communication management. And then once you put together these plans, pretty much you execute them across the life cycle. Now, key factors, part of this project management life cycle are, and that's something you should keep in mind all the time, it's all about time or schedule, cost, money most of the time, scope, and quality. So when you drive a project, you finish a project, everybody will judge you. Did you make it on time? Did you make it within the given budget? Did you stay within the scope? And if you develop any system or particularly software, scope is something very difficult to control. End user, the project sponsor, the stakeholder will come to you. How about this? How about that? Which, if it's a little one, you can accommodate, but if it's a major one, you need to restart everything, to replan everything. And then quality. You can deliver a project on time, within cost, within scope, but the product, the service you deliver is no good quality. So those are the parameters to keep in mind. So now what I'm going to end this little overview, it's a little bit longer segment, or probably the same like what I talk about thus far, which I call required project management knowledge and skills. I would say modern approaches, as opposed to example I was trying to give you from mega structures, mega buildings, mega projects, military campaign, where, believe me or not, if you look back, they were driven by fear. And fear was the major factor. You are not able to do it. You're not able to do your job. Yeah, you lose your life. Or in many cases, you did it. You did a fantastic job, and you still lose your life. But again, that was the factor. Or hunger, or I have to eat. We have to do this. We need to survive. But fear is a big factor. We still have fear today in different forms. You don't complete your project on time or schedule, maybe once, but second time, third time, you probably are out of a job. So it's a fear somewhere there too. But we replace the fear, try to replace fear with other factors, as I'll talk in a moment, mostly leadership skills, people skills, but also emphasize on what skills, knowledge, experiences a project manager should have. And that's very important. You should look at yourself and say, do I have that? Yes or no? If yes, great, you can enhance on that. If no, let's work on that. So, first of all, and by the way, I don't put them in any particular order. I think, in my opinion, a project manager should be a good administrator. Somebody who knows to administer resources, a person who's good organizer, coordinator, um, know how to lead a winning team or put together a winning team, and I would say neat, organized, discipline, which kind of go together with being a good administrator. I would say people who are not good administrator and don't have this skill I just talked about, they better learn it, or they change their personality because they're very much needed for a project management. Second one, communication skills. Somebody said, I read it somewhere, but I can confirm it. That's 100% true. Project management is 90% communications. It's all about communicating. I call that 360 degrees across organization, ability to communicate. I'm looking to a project manager like an island that is connected to the shores or the other rest of land to bridges. And you are the guy in the middle, and like a traffic cop, you direct the movement of communication. And at the same time, you need to build those bridges between you and all the other parties, customers, vendors, stakeholder, developers, executive management, you name it. So you are central point, the focus of communication, bring everything together. Now, it's also very important, maybe related to the being a good administrator. It's good if you are a driver. You are somebody who likes to drive, you're in the driver's seat. Don't wait for somebody to tell you to do this and that. You are driving this project. So it requires you to have what is called personality A. You have that leadership and driving skills that you drive from the front, the traditional way, like the commanders of big battles in the past. They were the first in front of the troops, first of one charging, not necessarily sitting behind, delegating, oh, you do this, that. Now, I'm not putting down on delegation. It's very important, but you know how to do it. And that delegation means it works. Somebody said delegation works, assuming including the person who delegates, does the work too. So it's not only delegate and let everybody do whatever they want. Now, leadership skills, I would say, are, as I said, a critical factor, not only in general to manage a project, but particularly these days. Since you cannot threaten people with this and that, the fear factor, but at least you have the leadership skills to make this happen. Then associated with that are people and soft skills. If you don't have people and soft skills, believe me, you lose support very quickly. You need to be liked, to be appreciated, respected by the rest of the team or the people outside of the team, no matter who they are, vendor, stakeholder, customer, executive management, to be respected and trusted in order to get things done. Then, if you look to the abilities or the factors related to project management, you need to be a good planner. You need to be able to deal with vague information. The future is not known, not very clear, but you still need to be able to plan. And not only plan, but be very effective and efficient executing, implementing that plan. So that's very important. As you know, lots of us can plan. I have a plan to do this and that, but 90% of us fail in implementing that plan. And that happens in project management too. Especially if you're looking and taking consideration the critical success factors and how you collect them, from whom, how you process them, and during the project, look into key performance indicators. They allow you to know, answer the question, am I where I should be? I'm ahead, I'm behind. And your ways to do that, even to process the schedule or to process the cost and everything of that nature. One powerful concept here is to be able to look to the cost and assess if the money and the time you spend is what you're supposed to do or be by that time. I mentioned you to be a delegator, but as I said, assuming you know to delegate, you have the right people you delegate, and in the same time, you do the work too. You're not just passing the work. Next thing, you need to have very high skills in risk analysis and mitigation management. To me, project management, semi-communication is 90% or more risk management. Are you able to identify the risk, to be able to analyze, evaluate, and mitigate when they occur, or even handle a situation where you have no plan before, it's a situation never seen before, how you handle that. So how you do this? Well, again, experience. I know this may happen because I've done this before, or I read in the book at least. This something can happen. But the ability to identify risk, associate the probability that will happen, not very easy math computation, analyze, and then when they happen, be able to mitigate. Um, then the 9 plans I talk about, you need to be real good at doing all of them. So you need to be very good of procurement, human resources, communication, time management, budgeting, finance management, you name them. So you see, that's where you start seeing, man, a project manager is so comprehensive person, so knowledgeable in all these places. And it is. That's the way very few are very, very good project manager. Then part of project management leadership skills is negotiation. You need all the time to negotiate new schedule, new features, budgets, all kind of things. And in particular, I love negotiating. I taught negotiation skills. I love to do it in a modern way, based on a win-win approach. That's me, okay? And I think in the long run is the best way to negotiate. So that's another skill. You don't have it, you need to learn it. Then you need to understand very well development methodologies. Anywhere from the classical waterfall then to spiral, incremental, rapid application development, RAD, all the way to the latest and greatest Agile and Scrum. Today, project management has a strong component, which is a strong flavor, Agile and Scrum. I'm a Scrum Master and Scrum professional. I function in that capacity many times, and I use that in project management many times. It's very important to have these skills. Then you need to be good in numbers, crunching numbers, because it's all budget related, schedules, and so on and so forth. If you don't have that skill, maybe you need to go and revise your math class last time you took in college or high school. Next thing, I will say to be versatile with variety of project management tools. Everybody heard or knows project management from Microsoft, but there are many others. Primavera, PlanView, Computer Associates, Workbench, Clarity, and then many others just came for the past 5 years or so over the web, free, like Smartsheets or Trello, you name it. Now, as important is to know them, it's more important how to use them at your advantage. Because otherwise, you run in a situation coming, I remember many years ago, from Larry Constantine, one of the biggest names in software development. And Larry had a saying, a fool with a tool is still a fool. So just because having the tool there and doesn't know how to use it to your advantage, is not going to help. But again, very important. Now, by the way, do all these hundreds, thousands of projects since the cavemen to recently have any tools? No. Pencil and paper. In many cases, not even pencil and paper. The all the details are in the head of the project manager. Interesting. So they didn't have the tools and all these things we have today. Actually, they didn't have many of the things I'm talking about right now. And guess what? They were very successful running mega huge projects, or the one that involve life and death of millions. So coming back to this, also very important is for you to have a good understanding of the corporate culture. You need to fit in their culture and also be able to understand compliance and governance. If you are part of the PMO, that's governance, and then compliance is whatever you need to do. These days need to be compliant. SOX, PCI, PMI, Harbor Safe, all related to security. Security, it's an embedded feature, if you want, in every single project. Business skills. Every single project solves a business problem. If you don't have a business case, you don't have a project. So you need to be able to understand the business, relate and speak the end users and stakeholder language, and that will make you very successful. Next, I would say strong consultancy skills, the ability to step in any project or any organization and see, oh, this is working, this is not working, this needs improvement. That requires lots of knowledge and experience you develop after decades and decades. And then many people look at you, guess what? To an agent of change. They brought you in because they had a problem or they have a problem. They had somebody before who's not able to complete a project. So you need a replacement to do things different. Be an agent of change. So if you don't have that capability, again, you probably may have the same problem like the guy you had before. Next thing I would say, they need to have a good understanding, good experience with how you deliver a project, how you implement a project. You develop it, but now it's coming to the end, to the closure, and how you hand over this to, so to speak, to the people who are going to benefit from it, to run it. So that implementation, that delivery is very key to the project management skills. Oh, next thing, documentation. Hey, there's lots of documentation going on in a project management. You need to be able to learn how to develop documentation. Eventually, some of that you'll be writing or review it. Somebody puts together a design review, a test case, an inspection report. Can you review it in a critical way to provide feedback or say, oh, this is good, this is not good? Or in many cases, you need to approve it. How can you approve something you're not able to understand or handle? Next, you need to be very good at relating to executives, to the stakeholders, the project sponsors. These are people very busy. They don't have time for much complaining and much irrelevant information. You need to keep them happy. You need to keep them committed. And in the same time, you need to keep them informed. How you inform them, how often, how much, having that presentation skills at executive level, very, very important. Experience with developing methodology, that's the next thing. If you develop software or even a system, is the SDLC. Do you understand that well? Do you have a good grasp of Agile? Do you have a good grasp of ITIL? Do you have a good grasp of product management, not necessarily project management life cycle? Do you have a good understanding of how QA, verification and validation, testing team, they work like? So again, you start seeing the level of comprehension in terms of knowledge and skills you need to have. I said one of the components of a project when you deliver is quality. You need to be big on quality. Understand what quality is about, how you measure quality, how you define quality, and only that, be able to continuously improve. Use techniques like Kaizen, Kanban, just in time, Six Sigma, Lean. Again, without that, probably not going to deliver necessarily a quality product. Um, Vendor management. Any project more or less deals with vendors. You need to be able to understand their needs, to communicate to them, make them part of your team. In some cases, they're critical to the success of your project. So vendor management skills, to be able to put together or review an RFP, an RFQ, or be able to select how you select this the best vendor, and then how you write and manage the SLA, service level agreement, very, very critical. And as these days, most projects come with uh, employing many contractors, be able to deal with contractors, third-party personnel. And guess what? Today in this globalization, you deal with people around the globe. At least for the past 10 years, every single project I worked on involved those kind of teams. You communicate people in different time zone, different culture, different communication styles. Not easy, I can tell you, but you need to be able to do that. Now, as you move toward the end of the project, you need to be able to do procurement and deal with supply chain management. So you don't understand procurement, supply chain management, you better start studying that, because it's very, very important. Because any project, more or less, you need to be able to procure something, or bring in new personnel, that's part of procurement, or deal with vendors, part of the procurement, or the software hardware components. I mentioned product life cycle, which are a little bit different than project management life cycle. But in the same time, today it's a tendency that more and more project managers are also responsible for managing the product, be a product owner and manage that. Again, different type of skills and very important to learn. So, in conclusion, as you can see, modern project management is such a comprehensive set of skills, knowledge, experiences that it takes time besides and beyond education and training, or even certification, to be able to be successful. So I hope this high-level overview was informative, offer you some good ideas, and if you want to know more, please contact me or attend some of my seminars or lectures when I teach project management here in Southern California, and probably you get a lot more detail. Again, thank you for your attention, and good luck and all the best to you. Goodbye.